Poor janitor feeds homeless kid every day. Years later, luck's car stops in front of him. While removing the trash from the office building, Allan saw a little boy rummaging for food. Instead of shooing him, he offered the kid some food, and it did every day until Allan decided to do something even more for the kid. Years later, the boy made sure to pay him back. The creak from the swinging door felt louder than usual that afternoon. Allan worked as the janitor of an office building with over 40 floors full of corporate workers. It was 4 p.m., meaning they had 1 hour of peace before pandemonium broke out and everyone clocked out of their jobs. It was a perfect time to take a break and have his sandwich outside, but he had to take out some of the trash from earlier that day. The trash cans were in the back of the building in an alleyway from street view, but as he hauled the 2 large black bags, he noticed the lid of a bin open. "Hey!" Allan called out, and a little head peeked over. A young boy was chewing on something, and Allan knew he had gotten it from the trash. "What are you doing? Don't eat the trash!" The boy jumped back, closing the lid and looking for a way out. Unfortunately, the only way to escape was through Allan, and the janitor caught him mid-run. Wait, the older man said. "Calm down. I'm not angry. I'm not going to tell anybody. Just come with me." Allan left the trash bags forgotten and walked to the side of the alley where they could sit on a low brick wall. He patted the spot next to him so the boy would sit too and produced a fresh sandwich from his lunchbox. The boy's eyes brightened in delight, but his happiness at this simple piece of food broke Allan's heart. Still, he would wait to say something. After cutting half of his sandwich and giving it to the kid, they sat and ate silently. He passed the boy some of his soda to share as well. "What's your name, kid?" he wondered, not pushing. The boy remained silent. I'm Allan. Tell you what, you can come again tomorrow and I'll have a whole sandwich and soda for you. This time, exactly, but only if you tell me your name." "Christopher," the boy said around his last mouthful. "Thank you, sir." "You're welcome," Allan replied, and the silence returned for a few minutes. It was more comfortable than he would have ever imagined. Every few seconds, Allan stole glances at the kid. His face and clothes were dirtied up, but at least he had several layers of clothes. By the looks of it, he was homeless and alone. It was hard to imagine how long and why he had been on the streets, but life was tough. Things happened. "Please don't tell anyone," Christopher said, standing up. His eyes were wide and genuine, but he nodded and pleaded with Allan to promise. "I'll be back tomorrow," he added, relieved. With those words, he ran off, lost among the other buildings in the street. Allan sighed, not knowing if he would see the kid again. But Christopher came back every day and waited for his sandwich. After a few days of that routine, Allan tried to ask more questions like where his parents were, why he was alone, and where he lived, but the boy didn't want to answer anything. "I don't have anyone or anything," he would say. Allan came one day with some kids' clothes. He couldn't afford to buy them himself, but he had told his neighbors William and Jesse about the kid and wondered if they had anything left over since they had an older kid. Fortunately, they did. Jesse gave him as much as he could carry. "Hey, if you need anything for the kid, I know some people who could help," she offered, and he nodded gratefully again. He gave Christopher the clothes and wished he could do more. Warmer clothes and meals, a shower and a decent bed, but he couldn't afford to take the kid in himself, so he did what he could and prayed for the best. After 2 weeks, Christopher talked to him some more and Allan got the courage to ask him tough questions, gently demanding honest answers. Apparently, he had earned the child's trust because Christopher revealed a few things. "My mom and her boyfriend were not good people. I ran away," he replied sadly. "Did they hurt you?" Christopher nodded. "I'm sorry about that. Adults should take care of kids." Allan shook his head, silently enraged. "What about another home? I have some friends who know some people." No foster homes. That's worse." Christopher stood, afraid. It was worse. Aye, kid. Eat, the janitor appeased. "Thanks," the boy said after sitting back down. "But kid, you can't live this life forever," Allan said. "I know this may not be hard, but being on the streets is a cycle most people can't break. You should be in school, playing with other kids and learning. It's your only chance to succeed." Christopher looked at his shoes, which were also borrowed from Jesse. "I don't know what to do. Everyone is bad. Except you," he confessed, and Allan saw the tears running down to his face. Finally, the janitor stood up and knelt before the kid. "Not everyone is bad, Chris. I don't have much to offer you, but I know people who can. Please let me help you. We could find you a home, and if you don't like it, we can try again." Christopher sniffed as if he was trying hard not to cry so openly, but he didn't win that battle. His cries came in small waves until Allan wrapped his arms around him, and the wails were loud and heartbreaking. Allan didn't have many words of comfort for the child, but he patted his back and told him everything would be fine. "I promise that if you let me and other good people into your life, you can get through anything, Chris. You can do more," he promised. And when the wails subsided, the kid nodded into his chest. That night, he talked to his neighbors again and explained that the kid probably had a bad experience at a foster home and he doesn't trust easily. Allan needed ideas on what to do because calling CPS and leaving him to his fate didn't seem right. William and Jesse were good people and they volunteered to take him in as soon as Allan finished his story. They weren't rich, but they had already raised one kid who got several scholarships and excelled in college. So a few days later, they came to the alleyway and met Christopher. Allan explained who they were and where they lived, assuring him they would always be around. He would also have a big brother if he went with them. It was slow and sometimes things were difficult for the boy, but Christopher learned to trust Jesse and William. Allan witnessed how they formed a family together, and it was a beautiful sight. But a few years later, Jesse and William's older kid Jackson landed a great job on the other side of the country. He didn't want his parents so far away and paid so they would all move. At first, Christopher was reluctant because he didn't want to go far from Allan. "Chris, they are your family. You have to go with them. Don't you want to see Jackson often? You can always write to me or call me. I'll be here, but you have to go with your mom and dad, all right?" The janitor encouraged, and the boy trusted him implicitly. Christopher wrote and called regularly over the next 2 months, but the communication slowly faded as his life got busier. Allan missed him and his neighbors, but that's life. He could only hope that they were all doing well. Many years later, Allan was still working in the same office building, although he became the janitorial manager and supervised the staff as best as he could. But every single day, he went out to the alley and had his sandwich. He always remembered Christopher in those moments and wondered how he was doing. He was eating his peanut butter and jelly on rye when the fanciest car he had ever seen entered the alleyway, which was not allowed. "Hey," he wiped his mouth, put his sandwich in the lunchbox and stood waving his hands. "You can't go through here or park, it's illegal." But a man in a black-on-black suit stepped out and walked towards Allan. The janitorial manager sighed, feeling a fight rising. Some corporate men thought they could do anything to talk to people however they wanted. "I told you, sir, you can't park here. It's illegal and I'll be forced to call the cops," he warned gently, not wanting to start escalating the matter so soon. "What kind of sandwich are you having today?" the man asked, ignoring the subject of his illegally parked car. "What? Do you have one for me?" the fancy man continued. "What?" Allan repeated, and finally the man took his dark sunglasses off, revealing a face Allan didn't recognize at first. "Or do you want me to dig from the trash, Allan?" The janitorial manager's jaw dropped. "Christopher?" he asked in wonder. "The one and only," he smiled. "Oh, my boy!" Allan laughed and opened his arms. They embraced tightly. He gave Christopher a few pats on the back before pulling away. "I have half a sandwich. I hope that's enough." Christopher looked to the side and pursed his lips. "I have a better idea. Get in," Christopher said smugly, putting his glasses back on and walking to his car. "I can't leave." "Don't worry, we'll be back in a second," Christopher reassured and turned the ignition. Allan shrugged and rushed to the car, commenting on how nice it was. But when he asked where they were going, Christopher only responded, "You'll see." A few minutes later, they drove through the gates of the fanciest neighborhood in their town. "Oh, we're going to your house? I didn't know you were back in town." Allan marveled at the houses he saw on the way, and they finally stopped at one of the most beautiful properties he had ever seen. "We're here," Christopher stated, parking on the driveway. "Oh, kid, look at what you've accomplished. I'm so proud," Allan said, looking at the exterior. "Wait," Christopher said before Allan could open the car door. "This is not my house. It's your house." "What?" "No," Allan shook his head. "It is. I bought it in cash for you," he repeated. "Years ago. I didn't trust anyone, especially adults, but one adult showed me kindness, told that I couldn't survive long on the streets, and got me to trust the right people." "Oh, kid, I did what anyone else would." The older man looked down. No one else did. "You got me a family when you couldn't take me in yourself," Christopher continued. "I love Mom, Dad, and Jackson. They're my family. But you saved me. I owe you. So this is my gift to you." "I can't take such a thing," Allan said, his words choked. "Yes, you can, and you will. It's in your name anyway," Christopher said. "I am who I am because someone shared a sandwich with me years ago. I can't thank you enough for that. Please, accept it. You deserve it." Allan finally nodded and they exited the car for a tour. By the end of the week, they had moved Allan into the mansion, and Christopher made them some sandwiches to share on the porch overlooking a fantastic view of the small lake. Better than an alleyway, huh? Christopher asked. I don't know. Some alleys have good things, Allan smiled. Yeah, Christopher nodded knowingly.